The Galactic Council had always been puzzled by humanity. Unlike every other sentient species in the galaxy, humans seemed to worship nothing. The Zephyrians had their great light, the Thornax revered the ancient stone, and the Vexhi built temples to the Void Mothers. But humans, they spoke of gods in past tense as myths and stories, relics of their primitive past. Commander Zeftos of the Hegemony Defense Fleet found this particularly amusing as he watched the human colony of New Haven burn below. The small research outpost had been defenseless, just 300 scientists and their families studying xenobotany in the Outer Rim. Perfect for sending a message. No gods to pray to now, he chittered to his bridge crew as orbital bombardment turned another human settlement to glass. The humans had been warned. The hegemony controlled this sector, and humanity's stubborn refusal to pay tribute or acknowledge hegemony supremacy could not be tolerated. 3 colonies had been eliminated as examples, their desperate distress signals echoing across human space like funeral dirges. What the hegemony didn't understand was that they had just awakened something far more terrifying than any god. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the holographic chamber aboard the battleship Righteous Fury, her weathered face illuminated by the ghostly blue light of 3 destroyed colonies. Behind her, the combined might of humanity's expeditionary fleet hummed. With barely contained violence, 200 ships of war that had been pulled from every corner of human space. "Show me again," she commanded, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. The hologram shifted, displaying the final moments of New Haven. Children's voices echoed in the static-filled transmission. "Mommy, why are the ships shooting? At us?" The recording cut to screaming, then silence. Captain Torres, her tactical officer, cleared his throat. "Admiral, the Hegemony fleet is holding position near the gas giant Kythera. Our scouts report approximately 100 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts." Chen's eyes never left the hologram. "They think this is about territory, about resources." Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "They don't understand what they've done." She turned to face her assembled captains, their faces appearing as blue phantoms in the chamber. "Gentlemen, ladies, the galaxy believes humanity has no gods. They're wrong." Her smile was sharp enough to cut vacuum. "We do have gods. We just call them by different names." She gestured to the holographic data streaming around them. "Justice, vengeance, the fury of a species that has crawled up from primordial mud, survived ice ages and plagues, endured world, wars and extinction events. These are our gods, and today we make offerings in their names." The Battle of Kythera lasted exactly 47 minutes. It began when Admiral Chen's fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. A wall of human steel and fury that blotted out the stars. The hegemony ships, confident in their numerical advantage and superior positioning near the gas giant's gravity well, moved to intercept. They had never faced humans in total war before. They had faced human merchants, diplomats, even human pirates. But they had never encountered humanity unleashed, unrestrained by the civilized pretense of galactic politics. The first indication that something was different came when the human ships didn't slow down. Standard galactic doctrine called for maneuvering into optimal firing positions, formal challenges, the ritualistic dance of fleet combat that had been refined over millennia. The humans ignored all of it. They came in like a hammer blow, their ships screaming across the void at velocities that made hegemony tactical computers gibber warnings about impossible intercept angles. When the human fleet opened fire, it wasn't with the measured salvos of traditional warfare. It was with the concentrated hatred of a species that protected its young with religious fervor. Commander Zeftos watched in horror as human kinetic weapons punched through hegemony shields like tissue paper. The humans had somehow accelerated ordinary chunks of metal to nearly light speed, turning simple iron into weapons of divine wrath. "How?" he screamed as his flagship shuddered under impacts that should have been impossible. "Their technology isn't superior to ours." His science officer's voice cracked with fear. "Sir, they're not using conventional weapons. They've turned their entire cargo capacity into ammunition. Every ship is basically a flying railgun loaded with..." The transmission cut off as another human projectile tore through the bridge. What the galaxy witnessed that day redefined their understanding of warfare. The humans hadn't brought superior technology or overwhelming numbers. They had brought something infinitely more dangerous: absolute commitment. Every human ship fought like it was already dead, pressing attacks that no sane commander would attempt. When their weapons ran out, they rammed hegemony vessels. When their engines failed, they detonated their reactors in acts of calculated suicide that took enemy ships with them into the dark. The few surviving hegemony ships that managed to escape carried stories that would spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Stories of human ships burning like funeral pyres, their crews singing ancient battle hymns as they died. Stories of impossible courage and inhuman determination. But most terrifying of all were the stories of what the humans did to the survivors. Admiral Chen had ordered every hegemony officer above the rank of lieutenant to be taken alive. They were brought aboard human ships in shackles, forced to watch recorded testimonies from the colonies their fleets had destroyed, made to listen to the voices of children who would never grow up, scientists who would never make another discovery, families who would never be whole again. Then they were released. Not executed, released. Sent back to hegemony space with a message burned into their minds and a terrible understanding of what they had awakened. The message Admiral Chen sent with the survivors was simple. We are humanity. We have no gods because we don't need them. We make our own divine justice. You killed our children. You destroyed our worlds. You thought we would submit because we seemed weak, seemed godless. You were wrong about our gods. Justice lives in every human heart. Vengeance flows in every human vein. These are older and more terrible than any deity your species has ever worshipped because they don't require faith, only action. Consider this your only warning. Touch another human world, harm another human child, and we will show you gods older than your civilization and more merciless than your nightmares. We are humanity. We remember everything. We forgive nothing, and we are coming. The Galactic Council met in emergency session within days of receiving the testimonies from Kythera. The debate was brief and unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership, their territorial claims recognized, and a formal apology was issued for the hegemony's regrettable misunderstanding. The galaxy had learned a fundamental truth that would reshape interstellar politics for centuries to come. Humanity might not worship gods, but they had become something far more dangerous. They had become the gods their enemies should fear. And in the depths of space, Admiral Chen's fleet continued its patrol, guardian angels with nuclear halos, protecting human colonies with the terrible devotion of a species that had turned vengeance into a sacrament. The galaxy would never make the mistake of thinking humanity godless again.